Councilman Knight, you were at the Smallwood service last night. Tell us about that.
Yes, I was at the memorial service for Elizabeth James Smallwood. I was roughly about 100 or so people from the community, and it was, even though it was a tragedy, it brought unity, and I believe we left the service united.
As far as you know, did she have any family in Rocky Mount?
I think she had befriend a lot of people here in Rocky Mount, and I think she did have a son that was here in Rocky Mount.
Now, Miss Smallwood has been grouped in with the other murders here in town. Why do you think she was grouped in with those murders recently?
Well, when you look at the murders that have taken place here in Rocky Mount, they were all African American women, a similar background from the same geographical area. And so when you begin to connect the dots, Elizabeth Jane Smallwood fit that category.
Councilman Knight, do you know anything that's going on with the murder investigation of her or any of the other women that's been murdered?
Well, not to get into the merit of the case, which we don't know too much of, but I do know that all law enforcement in the Twin County areas are working together on a task force along with the SBI and the FBI to make sure justice is brought to our community and to those victims who suffered violence through an assailant that we don't know particular right now who that person is.
Do you feel comfortable right now with the way the murders have been handled?
I feel that we could have done a better job, but I feel now we're moving in a direction where we have uh, pledged our full support from the council and the law enforcement to do everything we can to solve the murders here in Rocky Mount.
You were recently quoted in a Newsweek article relevant to the murders here in Rocky Mount, in where you said that if the women had been of a different color, maybe of a different background, that more would have been done sooner.
Yes, I still feel that way. Right now, when you connect the dots, they're all African American women of similar background, and regardless of race or socioeconomic status, it still does not mean that justice should not be brought to these victims. I believe if they were not African American and if they were of a different race, then I believe there would have been more attention brought to this situation much earlier, and that it wouldn't have taken this long, and other lives would not have been taken if we would have, treated these cases as a high priority in the beginning. Well, I feel that race is a factor because they all are African American women. They all was familiar with each other from the same geographical location on the east side of town in a historic African American community. So that links race to it. I said I also felt like if they were not African American, that it wouldn't have taken 7 to 8 to 9 bodies to be found dumped in a wooded area. But I do feel now, since we have gotten the attention both locally and nationally, and that eyes are on Rocky Mount, that we are moving in the direction that we need to move in, that justice is blind, regardless of race, creed, or color, socioeconomic background, or lifestyle, that if someone takes someone's life, then that perpetrator need to be found and need to be dealt with. If you have a group of women that are African American, and you had at least seven and now three missing, that it is linked to race, and that somebody are targeting African American women. I feel if we didn't have the media here and other people, other outside sources coming in, that it probably would have taken just a little bit longer for us to get to where we are now. It's necessary to have other resources to come in, because sometimes when you live in a place and you've been here for so long, it's hard for us to see the other side. And I think other views coming in also let us know that this is a very, very serious matter, not just here in Rocky Mount, but all over this country. One thing I'd like to close with is that was brought out not just on last night at the memorial service, but several people have spoken out that the media, regardless if it was well local and national, have pretty much stereotype all the women as prostitutes from low economic background, and without doing a full investigation and really knowing who the women were and their families, it's not fair to group everybody in that same category, even though they died at the hands of an unknown person, assailant, that we now may have one in custody. We're not quite sure yet. But it's sometimes it's not fair, because the last thing that a person have is their name, is their dignity. I think that's very important as we write our stories, as we communicate, that who is the real person, who was the real person behind these women, and why were they in the situation or in the predicament that they were in, and why did they end up dying the way that they died. I think that's very important. Investigation, but just looking at it from my standpoint, when you begin to connect the dots, and you have a group of women uh, who are all friends, and they begin to disappear, and you find them, one after the other, turning up dead, then that is a serial killer. I've got, I get slack from, not only this, but from a lot of things. When you speak out and speak truth to power, um, sometimes you get those kind of conversations in your community, and you get those phone calls, but you got to do what is right. This situation in Rocky Mount fits the profile of a serial killer.
Councilman Andre Knight, Rocky Mount City Council, Ward 1, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.